so that's fine. I was just saying we've gone through so many adversities that these technical hitches don't really bog us down. So a warm welcome to you, Abhnash. Um, and whilst you were trying to get through to us, I was in conversation with Rajni.
Yes, I heard most of it.
You heard it. Okay. Right. So the floor's yours now, Abhnash. Tell us a bit about yourselves, about your journey.
Okay, my journey. I came to Britain when I was about 7 with my parents, and my father was here before them. He went back to India to get ourselves 5 years after he'd been here. And I had a younger brother. Well, I have a younger brother. And all my education is in the UK, and most of my mum's extended family were here. My father was an only child, and my mother had 4 brothers, and we're very close. I'm very close to my cousins and so on. And what else? Left school at 16 against the wishes of my mom and dad, whereas traditionally in those days, either girl, if she didn't go on to further studies, she got married. So I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to go to school. And there's a funny story about that. In the UK, we have a half term, which means a week's holidays in October, just before Diwali. And so it was a reason behind that, because I lost interest in my education. I lost my grandmother, my Nani ji, my Dadi ji. So, because for 5 years, it was my Nana, Nani, and my Dadi ji that we stayed while my dad was here, the first year. And so it's like, when you lose somebody close, you lose interest. And I lost my best teacher. And so I decided to leave school without telling my mom and dad, which, as you can imagine, is no, right?
And so you were a rebel.
And I found a job. On a Friday, we used to have this free paper that used to come out locally. Looked at, got a job in an accounts firm, and came home on a Friday evening after the interview, told my mum and dad I wasn't going to go back to school after the holidays. And they were like, what? And mum, being very hot-tempered, was like, oh, what will people say? Because there was only a small number of Asian people living in the UK at that time, especially in the area we lived. And it was like typical, mums, what would my brother say? We can't afford to keep our daughter. She's gone to work, blah, blah. What would the society say? And started work. And Batima, whoever's listening, if I hadn't overheard my mum and dad talking a few days later, like I went to work on Monday, Tuesday I was ready to give up, because work wasn't what I thought it was. And even, it was like a lot of stress.
So the novelty wore off very quickly then, did it?
Yes. Well, it was like where it started work at 9, and it was like they were giving me work, but it was a good point, Anita, because that hard work has stood me in good stead. So I came home, and I wondered afterwards, because we live at the end of a road, and whenever you can see anybody entering that road, all right, because my mom used to love sitting in her room, and you could see right to the end of the road people coming down. And I walked in, and I thought my parents didn't know I was at home. I opened the door, came in, and I heard my father and my mother going, typical. How dare she leave school? What would people say, that we can't afford to keep our daughter, and either we have to get her married? And my dad was like, no, don't worry. She won't be able to cope with the work, and it's like, she's going to go back to school and so on. And I thought, how dare my dad not have faith in me? I'm his daughter. And I was like, the next day I went back, I was like in tears. I went back to work, and I was thinking, I'm going to prove them wrong. I have it, to get work. But later on, to be honest, I think they must have seen me walking down the road, wait till I put the key in, and they wanted me to hear that. So either their idea was I would go back and say, Mom and Dad, you're right. I go back to school. Or it would give me tough enough. I think their idea was I go back to school. But I chose to stay on.
Any regrets about that?
No, I mean, in fact, that job, the managing director was a self-made millionaire, English guy, working class. And they taught me a lot. It was mainly male-oriented. And if you imagine, I'm 4'11", but, these tall And I worked in the sales office, which is
You
even
know
to
what?
this day.
Strength,
Yeah,
strength comes in small packages, so don't worry
that's
about that one.
it.
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, I wouldn't be kind of bullied or anything, and they built up respect. And I stayed there nearly 3 years, and then by the time I left, I'd gone through all, being promoted about 3, 4 times, and then I think that gave me the courage. And I mean, I came from a family that always believed you can do anything you set your mind to. I mean, that was my mom's strength. Is like, um, you can do whatever you want, and she always used to say, if my parents had educated me, I could be running the country. Whereas my father is very highly educated, and I think between the two of them, my dad taught us patience and to do things with a sincere heart, you know, whether it was seva or whatever. And we always got involved with the community projects and so on. And and I think for me, having them as parents, and maybe we were very close, it was never like our our feelings weren't taken into consideration. And that's the same way I brought my daughters up. And I remember, because my family is not the normal family, including my extended family. My uncles, my cousins are very forward thinking. And when I became a widow at the age of 26, by then more Asian people were coming. And somebody happened to mention to me, all right, I loved wearing white, even as a single person. And when I got married, my mom used to say, you should wear, like lipsticks. And she loved it. She loved having a daughter. But I'm the total opposite. I don't like dressing up. I don't like makeup. I put the lipstick on today. I don't make myself look better. But
You don't need makeup.
but I'm
Yeah.
very much, I'm very much, how can I say, I like to get things done. So I think people take me as it is. But obviously, when you're running a company, or you're in a position of power, sometimes you have to um, give that image, like, be smart and so on. And so you wear
Sorry, I'm
different
just
hats.
interrupting because you said you were widowed at the age of 26.
Yes,
Um,
with two young children under 5, girls.
two young children under 5,
Yeah.
and from an Asian family. Um,
Yes.
how detrimental or how difficult was it at that point?
Like I said, I come from a strong line of women who are very strong-minded. You know,
No,
the
that's
wealth.
okay. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
Yes,
But we
yeah.
say that.
And I
But,
remember the
but
first
we
time
can
when
only say
I.
that later on. At that point, it must be difficult.
It was
Um,
difficult. I mean, I'll be honest with you, between you and me, or well, now the world might be listening, but there were days, but I never showed my feelings. I mean, but it was like sometimes, because I knew my dad was very hurt. I was his little girl, and my mom blamed him because it was arranged marriage. And she said, "You, your brother, and my brother, married my daughter to this man. You just destroyed her life." She never forgave him. But it wasn't. Death comes to we can't plan when we die. So
yeah.
poor dad, and especially when I lost it, and I found him crying actually. And I came and I said, "Where's dad?" And we have a big garden, and he was like, and I was like, "Where's dad?" And I found him, and he said, you know, I said, "Dad, it's not your fault." I said, "You didn't raise weaklings." And they were my daughters looked on my father as a father figure, and there was nothing they wouldn't do for their nana naniji. It was like, they had the benefits of having, in some cases, two mothers in a way. And
So you
because
had a
I
good
worked,
support system there. You
yeah,
you had
and I
family
have
to
wonderful
support you
friends. Yeah, and I think
and friends to
sometimes people,
support you.
yeah, and Anita, I think what happens sometimes. Blood is not everything. I have a very sportive family, but above all, I had very sportive friends, and I still remember my friend Papinder, who had 3 daughters. When she approached me and said to me, she said, "No, I asked you, Benji, why doesn't Paji come?" She had heard, but she didn't want to know. And she was there for me, picking up my kids with her 2 daughters, and then I would bring them back after I finished work when she went to work in the evening. So I think the sports system is what we need as women. And I think with all groups that I've been involved with, whether it was the Asian Women's Center that was set up by a couple of my friends, Jamil, we got involved and then we supported it. And then when we started the single, myself and Jamil co-founded a single parents group, um, too, because there was nothing for us out there. And so I think the idea behind was to give women, especially Asian women who sometimes didn't speak English, a chance to get to learn the language, to give them a support group if they didn't have families here. Because not all young girls who came on marriage basis had families here, you know, and
Right.
sometimes the marriages broke down. And I think I learned a lot from them. Anita, I am still learning a lot from, people I come across. That's why I was saying we should get together. I could learn a lot more from you. And Rajini, when I heard her story, but I suppose mainly my father always said to us, and my mother encouraged that. I mean, I remember one time when I was getting promotion, I was saying to mom, "Oh, it's in, I have to leave it's in Fulham," and I was doing, and my mother was like, "No, go for it. Doesn't matter. We will help with the children. We will do this." She never, she kind of pushed me, and I think because she was I once said to my sister-in-law, when my sister-in-law got married into our family, and I said, to us, our mother, she may not be educated, but her brains are far more than all of the family put together, because she could see things. Sometimes my problems, they'd be to do with working with staffing, and, I'm working with professionals. I would come and I'd be writing my reports, sitting with her while she's watching her TV. And she said, "Why are you looking sad?" And you discuss it and you say it in Punjabi and so on. And she said, "Well, you go back and you tell them this is what," it worked. It worked for me. And I think we shouldn't give up. Every person has some knowledge. It doesn't matter how educated or not educated you are. It's a common sense, you know. And then I think all my success I owe to my parents, with my grandparents, and my friends, because without friends, you know what they say, being at the top is a very lonely business, but if you have friends to enjoy it with, it makes the journey so much easier, you know
That's
and
that's so true. And the very fact that you were talking about the support system and the fact that your parents were encouraging, supportive, um, and you imbibed all the good values. Rajni was saying something similar. So I think that's the common thread amongst all the women with substance, that if you have a, a woman supporting a woman, it makes a lot of difference.
well, this
Um,
is I tell you something, Anita. I do international motivation speeches. One thing
right.
women don't want to admit, that sometimes women can be the worst enemy of another woman, especially if she's going up the
Yes.
ladder. Yeah. Which I tell my staff, in one business, I only employ females, which is a beauty business, right? Although we do get men asking, and I say to all women, don't be scared. Share your knowledge. You know, whatever's written in their fate, they will get it. Whatever's written in your fate, you will get it. All right. And that's very true, because I can give examples when, people have tried to stop people and they end up finding me again. And then they say, "Well, my puppy didn't tell me she was working for you. I had to suffer before I ended up, because a friend told me to approach you." And then,
I, I
and I
call
always
I call it the internal serial politics. The soap politics that you watch on
yeah,
television.
yeah. But I
Yeah.
tell you something, what people don't realize, if we help somebody, it's their silent prayer. You help somebody. I went to Sydney when my daughter got married. She went and stayed there for a while. I was shopping in Sydney shopping center. Somebody was calling my name, all right, and so I thought, nobody knows me, all right. Carried on walking, and then somebody tapped me on the shoulder. And, "What are you doing here? The wife would love to meet you." Blah blah blah. And we never forgotten how you looked after us for 2 years when we were in the UK, London. This was in Sydney. I said, "I'm only here for 3 more days. I can't come and visit." But I said, "Please give your wife and your child my best." And that's the love you have. And that love makes you successful, makes them successful. And the other thing is, I find that with our communities, we still don't like to admit if we have depression, and women do suffer from depression. Let's be honest. It could be if we're living in extended families, or it could be husband, wife, or even with children. And I remember when I had a head injury. I had a very serious accident, which in a way destroyed my civil service career. But there was a reason for that. And if you, it's how we cope with whatever hurdles we have in life, right? I was cried when nobody could hear me. The kids were in bed. The mom and dad were in bed. And I used to go, God, why me? I give to service. I help with charity. And you go, why me? If you've given me this, you've taken away my life. Give me another way to get that livelihood. I don't want to go with a begging bowl. Not that there's anything wrong. Sometimes that's the only option you may have. But give me, if you have put this obstacle in my way, give me ways to make a proper earning as well. And for me, a few years later, well, a year later really, my mom suffered a massive heart attack. And the problem is, I was just about to hobble at that time, so I was hobbling from my bedroom, and I mean here the bedrooms are joined together really, so not much. So I got out of the bed, and one walk, putting hand on their hand, and my mum had answered the call to my brother because he wanted to drop his son off to us. He was a baby, and she had lifted the phone, and because she suffered a heart attack, the phone slipped out of her hand. And she was lying half in bed, half on the floor, kind of thing. So I hobbled there, and I couldn't put weight on my leg, and I'm trying to push her back, so I did. And I put the phone back, and my brother, who's a doctor, said to me, "Sis, why did Mom put the phone down?" Right? I said, "No, she's saying she's got pain." And then I understood why, because when the doctors told us that if they hadn't got that help to her within that 5-10 minutes, she would have been gone now. And when I pray at night and morning, I pray for health and happiness for my friends, my staff.
So good.
And,
exactly.
And I always say, because they were, please, because my friends are my support system, I want them to live a long life.
I'm actually going to take that thought. The prayers for your friends and your prayers for your family, and the fact that women support women is what we need here. You two are prime examples of people who've actually fought against adversities and have emerged stronger. I'll actually end with the way I started. I started, and I think you weren't there, Abhnash, with Virod karu to asanskari, chup rahu to bechari. So we women are neither a sanskari nor are we becharis, because nari tu to hai Narayan. And on this note, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so sorry about the technical glitches. I can't promise that it won't happen again. A big thank you to the audience. Thank you, Rajni, from joining all the way from India, and Abhnash.
Thank you, Rajni.
My local Londonite.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and God bless us
all. Thank you, Anita.
Bye-bye.
Lovely seeing you, Rajni. Take care. Thank you.
So much.
Bye.
Take care.